detectives are working round the clock to get to the truth of what happened and are working through that. What I would urge is that anyone who was in the area of Scribers Lane at around that time, so the incident happened at 3:40 p.m, but around that time in general, they should get in touch with us and let us know where they were, if they saw anything unusual or suspicious, or also just to let us know that they were in the area so we can speak to them about aspects of the inquiry that might be of interest to us. We've set up a major incident public portal which can be found on our website, so people can find that and they can upload information directly onto that. That might be CCTV they have, private CCTV, phone footage or dash cam footage of that nature. If members of the public aren't as confident using the internet around that, they can still dial 101 and give us information through that means. And we know sometimes people aren't confident to speak to the police directly, so they can still use Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. This is an absolutely appalling incident. It's a very early stage of the inquiry. As I say, we have got specialist detectives working on the inquiry, but also supporting the loved ones of the 12-year-old that's very, very sadly and tragically lost his life. They're supporting her at this time, and that's the information that I've got at the moment. But I would encourage anyone who is in the area or has got any information at all about this incident to contact West Midlands Police through the means that I've set out. And that's what I need to say today about that.
What more can you tell us about the individual who sadly died?
So at the moment, all we're going to confirm is he's a 12-year-old boy, and we're working through those inquiries. We're obviously working with his loved ones and his carers and his family. When we've progressed that, then we may be able to release information later during the inquiry. But at this stage, we're working with them to support them through this terrible incident.
A lot of residents have also said there's been quite a lot about antisocial behaviour and drug taking near the casino. What can you tell us about that? Have you been called to any reports?
Well, what I would say is if anyone's got any consideration at all that it could be related to this incident that I've described in general terms, they should contact us through those mechanisms, and then we can look at that information and see if it does relate to it. And obviously any reports of that nature that come to us, there'll be officers, I'm responsible for Birmingham, but there'll be local officers who will be enhancing the patrol effort around here. They'll be out and about in the community to tackle some of those incidents that may be unrelated but are still causing concern, but also to assess the information that's coming through to see if it links to the inquiry.
Any CCTV footage have you got that you're looking through at the moment?
So it's an active inquiry at the moment, and we've got a juvenile in custody in relation to the murder. So we're working through those inquiries. Obviously CCTV is a major line of inquiry that the detectives are following at the moment.
Chief Superintendent, police officers, can I ask how members who helped the woman? It must have been a terrible scene for them to deal with.
Yeah. It was a chaotic and absolutely traumatic scene. We're supporting the witnesses through that. Obviously, the evidence and information that they can give us is absolutely crucial. But it was, incredibly distressing for them. And like the officers and the paramedics who arrived, they did everything they could. But very sadly, as we know, the victim lost their life later that evening.
The area is a main thoroughfare for children from schools, so the area is quite packed at around school ending. I mean, what reassurances can you give other parents of children in the locality? Because obviously, today it is cordoned off, but going forward.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously a very disturbing incident. It's absolutely traumatic for the community, and I really do understand those concerns. It is a positive that we have already made an arrest. Obviously, it's a very early stage in the inquiry, and as we go forward, hopefully we'll be able to release more information about getting to the truth of where we are with this. That will reassure the community even further, but it is a positive step. There will be more officers in the general area on general patrol offering that reassurance while we work through the early stages of the inquiry.
Can you provide any further information about the assault on which the suspect has been arrested on? When did it take place? Where did it take place? Did it happen in the park?
So it happened nearby, and it happened on the Sunday the 19th of January. It was a woman in her 80s was assaulted. It's unrelated to this, but the 14-year-old has been arrested for that offence as well. we're open-minded about what happened. That's why it's so important that people with any information at all, whether, obviously people might directly witness what happened, but actually if they've seen people in the area or they've got general concerns, we're open-minded about what may have happened. But the arrest is significant, and we're working through that now with that young person in custody.
Apologies, Richard. You saying to my colleague there about an assault. Are you linking them? Did you say you're linking them?
They're not linked, but the same suspect has been arrested for that offence. So in that sense, they're linked, but they're not directly linked.
And if you can just tell me a little bit more about the other incident that happened in January.
So it was on the 19th of January, Sunday. So that was an 8-year-old lady was assaulted, and the suspect is in custody for that, and he'll be questioned by detectives about that later today.
What are the ages of those involved say about obviously the scale of the problem of knife crime generally in Birmingham and the West Midlands?
So on a day like today, it's really difficult to talk about the progress that we've made about knife crime, because it's always going to look weak against the fact that what's happened to this 12-year-old child, and I don't want to cause any additional stress to the people that knew him and loved him. What I would say is that we're taking this incident incredibly seriously. In general, with knife crime, it is a priority for West Midlands Police. Over the last 12 months, we've took on a much more robust approach around it. So anyone who's found carrying a knife over the age of criminal responsibility, there's a very, very high chance they'll be arrested and brought into custody. We'll seek, a proportionate disposal around that to try and deter people from doing that. My message to the wider community and young people is you must not carry knives. And to parents and carers of children, we've really got to enforce that message collectively as the police and the community. Everyone, we must not carry knives, we must not use knives, because these are the tragic consequences of it. West Midlands have made a lot of progress, and Birmingham in particular, against serious youth violence and knife crime, but obviously in the context of today, that's a difficult message to put a lot of emphasis on, and actually dealing with this particular incident is a huge priority for us this morning.
You spoke about people in the area trying to help and see. Can you tell us a little more about how many people were around at the time of this stuff and what they did?
Well, they certainly, there was a large number of people in the vicinity at the time. It was 3:40 in the afternoon, and the school had recently sort of ended its day. So we know there were people in the area that raised the alarm to West Midlands Ambulance. It's the officer and the ambulance crew then took over that, the police officers and the ambulance crew took over that first aid. So it's anyone with information around that. We would be really grateful that they share that with us through the mechanisms that I've described.
Are you able to give us any information about whether the boy in custody affected you at all?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Do you know if the boy in custody and the victim knew each other?
We're still working through that at the moment. So we're not going to speculate around those details while we're still making those inquiries and while we've got that juvenile in custody.
One person we've spoken to, what we've seen quite like a group of people attacking an individual. So, are you still actively looking for the suspects?
Well, this is really early stages of the investigation. So at the moment, the child that's in custody will be interviewed, and then there's a number of large number of detective and investigative resources reviewing all the CCTV to get to the bottom of that. So at the moment we're not able to sort of speculate exactly around that, but as I say, we've got one person in custody, and obviously that's a key line of inquiry for us this morning.
The member of the public who stopped at one point, did they try to save his life, or did they try to call an ambulance? What happened in those few moments?
Well, certainly the police were called by an ambulance, so the member of the public called an ambulance. We're confident that the people who were faced with that really harrowing scene did everything they could, and they did the right thing in seeking help before seeking to engage. And unfortunately, later that evening, the injuries unfortunately resulted in the death of that child.
This boy is in custody for another assault. Was he on the radar at all before that assault or during this time?
Yeah, so because of the age of the suspect, we're not going to go into, it wouldn't be right to go into all the details of that, but obviously there will be a review around what he's been doing over, obviously, yesterday and over the last, over the last few weeks and months, really, just to review how we've approached that, and there might be other information there that's pertinent to the inquiry at hand, so we will be looking at all the detail around that.
When was the assault on the elderly woman on Sunday reported?
It was reported around the time of the incident, which I think was about 1:30 in the afternoon.
So you have been looking for a suspect since then?
Yeah.
It happened in the same area.
Yes, it happened reasonably nearby, near the river Cole.
Okay. I think we'll call it a day there, and then if that's okay with everybody, thanks to everyone for coming along today. We'll be putting out updates on the website as and when. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, everyone. Take care. Thank you.